Welcome back to another Army Showcase, where today we discuss one of the channel favorites. And I mean this really and truly because we have about 8 versions of this army in the studio. There's many reasons why. Today in particular, we're going to be discussing my Chaos collection, because as you can see, this basically fills up this entire board. We'll revisit Brian's another time when he can speak about his individual interests, because well and truly, every Chaos Demon army is unique. People have their favorite models, and this really ties into the lore, the way they play, and the way they convert. So without further ado, let's take a look. So let's start off, as usual, kind of discussing the lore of the Chaos Demons, why they're interesting as far as that goes. For me personally, I love the lore behind them. They're of course the Neverborn, as they're referred to. They are kind of living in the warp, in this sort of like underworld dimension kind of thing, and they come out and they lay waste to the real space, essentially. And one of my personal favorite things is they really lean into this traditional kind of demonic lore of like, you don't want to, like, if you know their names, you'll have power over them. They're always fighting against each other, right? There's the 4 Chaos Gods. Yeah. Exactly. And I think that's really cool about them, right?
Yeah, I love me a competitive faction where everybody's trying to make their own story, make their own legend.
Yeah.
They're always fighting with each other, always bickering, always trying to trick each other. Makes for some excellent storylines.
Exactly. It's cool. Like, this is in many ways 4 armies in one, as we mentioned, because we have the 4 gods, right? We have Khorne, that's all about violence and blood and skulls for the Skull Throne. We've got Nurgle, that's all about not just death, as most people think, but also like life and like living forever. Rebirth, exactly. So, and they're also kind of like the funniest of the 4. There's a lot of humor in them. Tzeentch, which is always plotting, using magic, like seeing the future.
Trickery.
All trickery. They're very much like they're a blue faction, right? And then last we have Slaanesh, also known as the sexy faction, which is all about like lust for power and like seducing or beguiling people, right? Pleasure. The god of pleasure. For
joys in life.
Yeah. And what greater joy is there than crushing your enemies, right? Seeing them driven before you. So they're all super unique. My personal favorite, which you can kind of see a bit from this collection, is the lore behind the Nurgle demons. Some of it's really funny, and some of it's really dark. Yeah. Like the Beasts of Nurgle, for example, they have an ideology that's similar to many of the Nurgle demons. They just want to play, actually. Yeah. They are like dogs, basically, and they like run towards people with like their slavering tentacles and they're like, play, and that's amazing, right? And then there's like darker ones, like the Plague Drones.
Oh, they're gross.
You know their backstory?
Yeah, they're gross.
Oh my gosh. So long story short, is like they start as these teeny little bloat flies, and inevitably, what do you see when you see a fly bothering you? You squish it, and then it basically gets reincarnated after like 1,000 years back into wherever. It's a bigger fly now. Same thing, gets swatted. Same thing again and again, and every time it gets bigger. And every time it starts off super innocent and like kind, and actually over time it gets like twisted and bitter and just hates people to the point where it's this giant bloated drone that like sucks people up and like keeps them in its belly. It's like, that's really, really dark.
It's gross.
So they have a lot of really cool, fun things like that, which is one of the fun things about the demons. They really have fun with like that traditional demonic lore.
Yeah, I personally like all the Khorne lore. Yeah. Because they're just tortured souls.
They are, right?
They're having it real rough, and they need to kill to just to survive.
Yeah.
Just to get through the day. I need to kill like 20 people, you know?
Yeah.
They got it rough. Life is war.
Yeah, it's war, it's bloodshed, it's conflict. You know, I have days like that too, but for them it's every day. So yeah, we could honestly go on about the lore because that's one of the coolest things about them. And I love even just the little anecdotes that they have even within the codex. So that's a cool thing to check out. Now the lore kind of leads directly into the way that they play. Obviously, they play a certain way right now, and there's ways that they played in the past. There's a couple things that have kind of remained forever, though. One, it is mega powerful combo-based characters.
Yeah.
They're all about that, right? Chaos is kind of a combo faction, and Chaos Demons, no exception. They have like the Exalted Demons currently at time of recording, right? Where you can really finally upgrade these big Exalted Demons, make them feel like they should, right?
It's just another layer of rules to stack on, so you can like pick your channel. Like I want this warlord trait, this relic, these spells, that Exalted power, and it's like you comboed your way into. You picked a direction. You went real far that way.
Exactly. And I think that's cool, and it makes them very flavorful, very tough. And in the past, they've had like even more complicated combinations where it's like you're taking this guy with this tome and buffing these guys with this thing. Regardless of how they change their additions, this has always been a big part of their identity. And for me, it's one of the things I find most rewarding about playing them, is finding those combinations, playing them, especially on the battlefield. The other common factor is hordes. They're the unending tide of the Neverborn, right?
Yeah.
They have tons and tons of little, small critters and beasts and demons and whatever, and that's the other kind of big theme about them, right? It's the never-ending legion. So as far as play style, that is really what you're going to get in pretty much any edition playing demons. As far as individual gods, obviously we've got kill them till they die. We've got we're never gonna die.
Yeah.
We've got we're gonna do weird stuff to you, and kind of we're gonna do weird stuff as well.
We're gonna do different kind of weird stuff.
Yeah, but we'll run fast while doing it.
Yeah, so it's like speed, magic, durability, combat.
Exactly. So if you're looking at starting Chaos Demons, this is the kind of thing to consider, like as far as which direction you want to start. Which again is another point. This is like 4 armies. You can totally play into one god. It's not usually the most competitive in any edition, certainly not currently, but you can, and you can also mix, right?
Yeah.
That's always an option. While the gods are always fighting, they often have to make uneasy pacts with each other, right? And that's definitely the same on the tabletop. Because
tenuous alliances.
Tenuous alliances, that's right. and that's another big thing as far as like, they each have their strengths, each have their weaknesses, and they kind of help each other out. The one thing that they still currently don't have in almost any of the factions is real shooting, long-range shooting at least.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's part of the faction identity. You know, Tau doesn't have combat.
That's right.
Demons don't have shooting. They get everything else. I think it's fine.
That's true. The closest thing they have is Tzeentch, right? Just lots of little flickering flames, which used to be psychic powers, and then things like flamers, but it's all very short.
And you know what? I like it. They've cool. Committed to the demon beings, which are these ancient beings from another dimension, not having guns. Imagine that.
Imagine that. You showed up to a gunfight without a gun, but you do have magic. So obviously, this is my personal collection, and I have built it over a number of years. This is definitely one of those factions where there is still a lot off of camera that's just like in some state of disrepair, or like it needs to be updated, or it's being converted. Because I've had this collection for so long. But one of the things I love about this from a hobby perspective is just how amazing it is for converting. This is a converter's dream, right? Chaos is one of those factions that you can do almost anything you want, and with demons, that's doubly so, right? So I have a couple favorite models personally. We've got good old Mouth Hands. You know
Mouth Hands. We love Mouth Hands.
This is a channel favorite. Lots of memes about Mouth Hands. And he's like totally scratch built, right? He's like the belly of a Turvagon, and lots of like hot glue, honestly, and drone bits, and Sylvaneth bits, sorry Mel, and zombie bits. Which is kind of how he got his name, Mouth Hands.
Mouth Hands.
Which is cool. I didn't christen him Mouth Hands. The channel christened him.
It was me.
That's right, exactly. And that's kind of a cool thing that comes out, right? Demon Princes. I have like 14 Demon Princes, and they're all just because you know what? You need a different Demon Prince. And it's a new conversion project. If you're looking for a hobby project to convert, this is the way you go, huh?
Yeah, because like the demon models are kind of suggestions, I would say.
Yeah,
because
really
demons take many forms.
Exactly.
James Workshop gave you one form, but you can find so many other forms of demons, and that's something that I really like about demons in the lore, is that they come in all shapes and sizes.
Right. And
they just have their thing. They're trying to do their thing. They find a shape that fits that thing.
Right. Exactly. And that's the funny thing is like a lot of times they take human form because that's what humans identify with.
Yeah.
And then other times they're just completely identifiable, and it's like very Lovecraftian, right?
Yeah.
Just like looking at it kind of like breaks their mind. Yeah. So it's really cool, a lot of fun to convert. How are they to paint? What do we think?
Ooh, I think it's a pretty easy starter army to paint. I think you could put just some base coats down and some washes and be satisfied. I've seen a lot of people do that with like Plague Bearers.
Yeah.
I've seen people do it with Nurglings. Like pinks and blues. Paint the pink, paint the blue, right? You're good. But there's also such an amazing high end of demons because they have so many different textures, and you could add colors anywhere you want.
Yeah.
They're really some detailed models. So the sky's the limit, really, I
Yeah.
think, on painting demons.
I totally agree. They're one of those things that is super easy to get into, and you can just go totally nuts with it. As far as painting it, contrast is great, dry brush is great, airbrush is great. Guess what? Everything's great. So really easy army to get into as far as painting. As far as collecting, depends from kind of edition to edition. If you're trying to build like the powerful list or whatever at the time. Right now I think it's relatively attainable because the big lists currently have a few big monsters. Yeah, Lords of Change, basically, lots of keepers running around. And of course,
even the Great Unclean One's making it into the lists now.
He does, that's right.
He's
it's so
back.
funny. And the funny thing is, like, for example, this model right here, this is, as far as actual Bloodthirster parts, just the legs and the arms and the head.
Those are nice legs.
The rest is, they're nice chunky legs. Those are some thick thighs. The rest is just like bits and parts. And that's something that you can do, when I made this guy, I was in college as an undergrad and didn't have a lot of money. And it was like, I have parts of models that I've gotten from friends or whatever, and you just make it work. And that's one of the things that I really love as far as like stretching kits. Some of my drones have a couple less legs because I put them somewhere else. And you can really, they're really, if you're willing to be creative and spend a bit more time, you can stretch your budget much farther than you would be able to with armies that have like more strict rules, maybe like Eldar or something. You can't really do that.
WYSIWYG with the right gun. No, we're demons. We don't have guns.
Exactly.
We have hands.
Sometimes we don't even have hands. Who says they need to have hands? So just really cool, really fun faction. It's one that I feel very passionate about, and just kind of represents a lot of the stuff that I love about Warhammer.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for joining us on another episode of Army Showcase, talking about why you should collect a given faction. Love, love, love this faction. Can't say enough good things about it. If you did find this video useful, do like and subscribe. Let us know in the comments below what your favorite faction is and whether or not you'd like to see covered here. Probably. And lastly, of course, if you'd like to support the channel, all these things help us. And you can also become a member today. Join button that's right down below on the screen. And we'll be playing these guys very, very soon on the tabletop. And we'll catch you there.